Chapter 32. The Covenant Law. T.R. Hobbes has said of law in the Bible, quote, "All law presupposes the existence and identity of Israel's God Yahweh as the deliverer from Egypt." End quote. The New Testament stresses the continuity with this in Matthew 5:17-20. Salvation is now more explicit. It is atonement, but the law as the way of life for the redeemed remains. Law-breaking is, quote, "a refusal to live within the relationship established by the covenant," end quote. In other words, to reject the law of God is to reject the covenant and the covenant God in favor of an idol, a God created by man's imagination. Man's relationship to God is covenantal, and to attempt a direct relationship is to supplant Jesus Christ as mediator. Antinomians are implicitly replacing Christ with themselves. Antinomians replace Jesus Christ with themselves. The word covenant is not in their vocabulary, although one at times can hear some speak of a very personal covenant with God, as though none other could exist. A covenant between God and man is between a greater and a lesser party. In any such covenant, for the greater to enter into a covenant with a lesser party is an act of grace, so that a covenant by God with man is an act of sovereign and uncaused grace. But a covenant is a treaty of law given by the greater, here by God, to the lesser, man, as the way of life. God gives his law to man as an act of grace so that man may have life rather than death. A covenant is thus both grace and law when between God and man, as we see it in the Bible. It is a thoroughly relevant fact given to determine what man's way of life should be under God. God's covenant is life, and the alternative is death. But there's more. Man's life is on God's earth, and God's covenant is a covenant of grant, and as such it involves two things, a gift of land and a status as the great king's or God's man. This kind of lord and client status existed in the medieval era. God requires obedience, honour, and exclusive worship. Worship can be defined as obedience, faithfulness, service, fear, love, and full commitment to the covenant Lord. In Deuteronomy 5:6-10, this requirement is clearly set forth. "I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. Thou shalt have none other gods before me. Thou shalt not make thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments." First of all, God requires obedience to his law because, apart from the fact that he is our creator, he is also our redeemer. We owe him obedience now and forever. Second, this means, quote, "Thou shalt have none other gods before me." Nothing else can have priority in our life. God alone is God, and God alone can be our God. Third, no graven image, whether the work of our hands or of our minds, can command our loyalty and worship. Today, many of our graven images are intellectual or institutional. As Alan Stang wrote, quote, "Thou shalt have none other gods before me, including the state," end quote. Fourth, God is a jealous God. He requires exclusive worship. To give priority to anything else in our lives other than God is to deny him. Fifth, God is a merciful God whose mercy extends down the generations to those who love him. Sixth, God keeps his word. This is a great and encouraging fact, but also a terrifying one. God is not careless about records as we are, nor heedless or forgetful of what he's promised. Law-keeping, life within the covenant, is living within the framework of God's covenant law. It means recognizing that we do not determine what our goodness consists of, but that God and His law determine. He is the Lord, and all judgment rightfully belongs to Him. It is always necessary to remember that the law is God's covenant law, given to us as an act of grace. Our response to grace, or the law given by grace, is not one of merit, but of gratitude. For this reason, the Psalms strongly stress praise, thanksgiving, and gratitude as basic to our worship of God.